Welcome to Bigfoot Society. If you have Bigfoot activity to report from the same areas discussed in this episode, please reach out to me directly after this episode. And if you'd like to be on the podcast to discuss a personal Bigfoot encounter, please reach out to me directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Do you wish there was more Bigfoot Society to listen to every week? Well, there is now. If you become a supporting member over at Patreon, you get a special members-only episode every single week on Wednesdays, and sometimes even more episodes. Head on over to patreon.com/The Bigfoot Society. And now let's get on with the show. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to good friend Bill Morris today. I've talked to Bill before. If you remember the episode where there's now it's kind of famous, the Sasquatch killed bear. Everyone remembers that part of it. But Bill's from Southern Oregon. And we were able to actually hang out at Sasquatch Summer Fest over there in Oakridge, which is a big part of why Bill is back on the program to share kind of his viewpoint of what happened during those few days that he was there. So how's it going, Bill?
Going good. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's nice out here in Iowa. It's a little warm, but just kind of still decompressing from that time in Oregon. It's really it really affected me in positive ways. So
you really
it's good.
Got your mind expanded in exponential ways.
Yeah, you could say that.
You're going to be it changes your life completely. It really does. This is nothing that I ever thought I'd be talking about because, like I said, 38 years, I kept it tucked away. Then the experiences I'm having now are just, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I have the most open mind now that I've ever had my entire life, and I really look at things a lot different now. And I'm just at a point where let the weirdness happen. It's going to happen. Just let it happen, and just like Tom used to tell me all the time, just go with it, Bill. Tom Cantrell, and It's like, well, I learned to go with it, and it's like some of this stuff seems like it's just so out of the ordinary that it's impossible, but these are the things that are actually happening, and it's really crazy.
It's really, really interesting, and I think I mentioned this out loud when I met you at the festival. I was like, you have the most calming presence of any person that I have ever met in real life, and it was very interesting. And I was like, whoa, this is so interesting. I have to say this out loud to Bill. Like, this is intense.
Yes, you did say that, and I actually thought of that earlier today when I was saying about I'm going on with Jeremiah again. I remember him saying, man, you're a really calm dude.
Yeah, just a chilled out, cool guy. But Bill, let's get right into it, man. So share with me. I'm really curious as to what happened to you guys on your side of things out there.
Well, the whole thing there is, I had such a blast. I loved meeting you, and I got to see Gwendolynn Guthrie. We've been friends for probably 5 years or so, maybe 6, and hadn't got to meet each other, and it was just instant friends. It was just amazing. Just like you and I. We got there together. I walked up and looked at you, and you looked at me and went, whoa, hey! We just hit it off instantly. But I have said in the past that my Sasquatch family follows me. And now I have a little proof of that. When I was at Beachfoot a few weeks earlier, before Oakridge, the first night, me and Kathy Blunt, I was at camp. I had picked her up and brought her to Beachfoot. She needed a ride. So I went from Springfield over to the coast, picked her up, and then on up to Beachfoot. And the first night we're sitting there, I was so tired. I started grounding. I took off my shoes and socks and everything. I'm sitting there in my chair in my tent, grounding myself to kind of relax and, give some of the energy away. And she's across the field at another camper site, some other researchers there, and we hear this call. It started out kind of like a barred owl call, just for a half a second. Then it went, I I about fell out of my chair laughing. I was like, that was funny. And that was a sad attempt at an alcohol. And then it did it again, except it didn't even attempt to disguise itself as an owl. It just went, I'm laughing. I can see her on the other side laughing, and the other two researchers that were with her. So on the last night, which was the Sunday night of that weekend, there was two other researchers right across the trail from me. They're probably 30 feet away. And there was one camped at the other end of the field, which on the other side is like a day use area. So there's nobody over there. And we heard a tree knock. And I was like, well, I thought it was just a camper over there, you know, the other researcher, which I didn't know him. And he came in on a motorcycle. And then all of us heard the tree knock. And then we heard movement coming up through the bushes between us and the river. And when I got up the next morning to break down my tent, I tripped at the back corner of it. There's a footprint at the back side of my tent. So, and it matches the size of my juvenile. And I only told one or two people this because for me, nowadays, when it comes to experiences, I keep a lot of it to myself because it's personal. And it becomes personal after a while. I have no interest in proving it to anybody. I know they exist. I've been face to face, as you know, and close enough to touch one. And I've had several other experiences that you would consider face to face. You know, they've been close up, eyes on, 30 to 35 feet away. You know, and my last one, number 6, when it was the juvenile and the alpha female, I was allowed to get within 10 feet of them. And I was armed as well. They know that I will not harm them in any way, that I would actually use my firearm to protect them. So they've never had a problem with me carrying a firearm. I hear all these other stories. Oh, they were upset I had a gun and, you know, all this. I said, well, you know, I've kind of dealt with them my whole life, so it's never been a problem. So that shows that, you know, and I'm not the only one that has them follow them around. And I think it's kind of a protection thing that they protect us. So when we did Oakridge, it was the last day, Sunday. You know, everybody was packing up. Everybody was getting ready to leave. Several of you were going out on a little night thing that night. And I spent, well, actually, during that day, there was 2 things that I did, or one thing that I did, actually, with 2 different people. And I was motivated by it. Sometimes they'll talk through you, you know, and motivate you to do different things. And that's the kind of connection I have with them. I have a different connection than most people. I have no fear of them whatsoever, as you know. And so I interact with them a lot more than most people do. And there's only a few of us, or a handful of us, that do that. And but I walked up to Gwendolynn Guthrie, and I looked at her right near eye out, just out of the blue, walked up to her and says, "Are you ready to see one?" And she's like, "Yeah." I said, "Can you get over your fear?" She says, "I'd be okay with it." Then I walked up to you right after that. I said, "Jeremiah, are you prepared? Are you ready to see one?" And you said, "Yeah, I think I am." And then I told you what to do and what kind of mindset you needed, you know, to make that happen. And why I did that, I don't know. It was, I kind of, it feels like I was kind of the middleman for the festival up there for some reason with the Sasquatch people. I had no clue mine were there. I felt like they were there, but, you know, I don't go around and say, well, you know, they're over there in the bushes or anything else. You know, I don't point it out or anything, but, you know, I do get a feeling that, you know, they are around, and when they are around. And look what happened for you. You know, and guess what? Gwen had a sighting that night too. She says, well, the crew doesn't believe me, but I asked her for a description, and it matched my juvenile JJ. She called him Buckethead. I about died laughing, but yeah, it matched his description, his size, everything. And I said, well, I think that was probably my juvenile, because I know they're here, and because I got to talk to her after, you know, and kind of the same thing. You were headed to the airport when you got a hold of me, or you were at the airport actually, getting ready to board your plane when you got a hold of me and told me about your experience. And I did watch your podcast with Henry and everything. Rest his soul. But yeah, Henry's right. You know, some of us do get that connection. And it does have something to do with your spirit. I think your energy, your vibration, and that's how they choose you. You don't choose them. You don't go hunting them. Hunt them all you want. You're never going to find one. It's about who you are that causes them to want to know you, because we glow, but it's not in a wavelength that we can visually see ourselves. But science does say that we glow, and maybe they can see that glow. Maybe they can see your frequency or the vibration that you're on. Might be the way they choose you, and then they link up with you mentally. And when they do, it's game on. It's on your way. That's your trip down into the rabbit hole.
If you don't feel comfortable speaking for Gwen, I'm gonna speak with Gwen eventually. Just he's very busy with school stuff right now.
Yes.
Was it at the area where we had been going up to throughout the week?
Well, she went up with Jason and the crew. They had the whole film crew with them, and
Yeah.
Sasquatches have a way of being able to set things up to make things happen. What I understand is there was a baby deer that was separated from its mother, which they could have possibly done that. And with Gwen in her heart, they were all going to try to capture this deer and go return it to the mother, because they could hear the mother bleeding for the child, for its young one. And so they got up to a spot, and Gwen saw it, and she jumped out and ran to it. So that left the film crew behind. That gave, if it was JJ, him the opportunity to appear to her. And yeah, very interesting how it all happened, because the film crew was left behind, no cameras. She was hollering for a flashlight. And I told her that's why. I said, this is a possible thing that they set this up, to separate the deer from the mama, because they know how you are and they knew what you would do. And that was their way of separating you from the film crew to make this happen, because you wanted it to happen. And I think they sent me to you that day and asked you, are you ready? Just like I did you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Like I said, this is going to be kind of mind-blowing, and once it starts swirling around in there, you're just going to be going, holy cow.
That's incredible, because, and I'm trying to think of where I was, but that night I was up there, but in a different area with different people. Part of there was definitely a long extended area of time when Jason's group was away from us, and we couldn't find them for 45 minutes. And they just happened to be running down the mountain when we were driving down a service road, and just happened to intersect with them. It's very weird stuff, Bill.
That was probably when it all happened, and it was during that time period right there. Gwen, I know she was hollering for a flashlight because she wanted to see Buckethead, which I think is hilarious that she calls him that. I said, well, yeah, because they kind of look like somebody just stuck their head on this monstrous bodybuilder, But JJ's not that big. He's around 10 years old. But at 10 years old, he already has a 10-inch footprint. He's right around 6 feet tall now. And when I first met him 3 years ago, he was about 5 feet and 9.5-inch print. And because I do have casts, or at least one cast of his that was casted in loam. And the great part about that was it showed that amazing mid-tarsal break. His foot's extremely flexible. I see. It was just amazing. And one of these days we'll get to that story. Yeah, I've got quite a bit. So, but let's go ahead and roll through this.
Yeah.
Well, that day after everybody was leaving, everything was breaking down. Priscilla and the family were getting everything broke down, loaded up, out to go. Matter of fact, Ron Roseman, which I saw your interview with Ron, and I answered some questions for Ron about why they were angry, and that's why he wanted to talk to me. Ron and I sat there and talked for 7 to 8 hours that day.
My goodness.
That's how enthralled we were. And he was telling me about everything that happened. Then he got to the part where, about that they were angry at him and everything. And he wasn't really sure why and where the anger was coming from them. And I figured it out, and it was pretty simple. He did a vocalization. They're not used to him doing that, and they know that he doesn't need to do that. And for them, they took it as he was mocking them. We don't know their language. We don't know what they're saying. We can't, translate what they're saying or, try to say it back. So that is when everything went south for Ron. So, and that was a part of it. He's just like, well, we're going to sit down here and talk. Well, yeah, we talked for almost 8 hours, but we lost our chairs. Priscilla had taken off. Then she came back to get him. But in that time period, there was a vendor that was set up by the stage there, young lady, Dr. Love. I started headed over that way, and something told me, no, not yet. So I just kind of shied away from her and didn't go over and introduce myself or anything. I was just curious of what she had going. She wasn't there for the Sasquatch thing. She had nothing to do with Sasquatch. She was just there as a vendor. She makes herbal cures and remedies. Mm-hmm. This will all come together eventually here. So I was just like, well, that's, kind of cool and stuff. But for some reason, I kind of shied away from her booth. Well, after everybody was gone, we were sitting there, and she come walking up from the trail down off the river. And that's the Willamette River, not the Willamette. She had her hand open, flat out, with this round green stone in her hand, and come walking directly to me. As Ron and I were sitting there talking, and we're just going, well, this is interesting. And she just had this just very kind of perplexed look. And she says, I just got gifted this by a juvenile young Sasquatch. And I looked at it, I said, well, it kind of looks like a turd. And for some reason, yeah, I asked her, did you ask his name? And she said, JJ.
Not a chance.
I about fell out of my chair. JJ, my JJ, is the only Sasquatch on this planet named JJ because I named him. And wow. Oh yeah, if you don't think my jaw hit the ground, I was like just flabbergasted. I can't think of any other word. I was just Twitter pated, all the weird ones,
Yeah.
It was like, holy cow. And she says, you really think it looks like a turd? I said, I call him the little turd. I said, that's the funny part about this. So we started laughing. Nice polished green rock. And, it was just, she said, I was down at the river and she says, I had locked eyes on him. He was across the river. And to start with, until I was on my way home and really got to process a lot of the stuff that she told me, I thought, well, I've put out some podcasts out there and talked about my Sasquatch family and how they are and everything, but there's things that I haven't told people. And these were the signs I was looking for. And we've had several texts back and forth, a few phone calls. She was supposed to get back to me. She called about 2 weeks ago, but we haven't got hooked back up again. So she's been busy. It's that time of year. She's out foraging, so she's getting all of her herbs and medicines and things together right now. That just blew my mind that she walked in and said his name was JJ. I just couldn't believe it. And she described, well, not all Ron was there, but we talked about it. She says, I was down there, and she says, I had eyes on him. He was across the river for about 15 minutes. And she was just recovering from some things here, because she had been poisoned with a day or two before. Gwen and team were, I'm not sure exactly. I heard little bits and pieces here and there throughout the weekend about somebody being found and, their car was broke down and they were very sick, and it was her. She'd been poisoned. And the reason is when I was doing research on, I'm not going to say much, I'm not going to mention the word, everybody knows what I'm talking about. And I ran across her in there for things that she was curing. And I ran across a doctor that she had mentioned doing the same thing, that they were working on research of healing people from this. And so they've tried to destroy their practice, tried to have them disbarred, attempted on their lives. There's been attempts on their lives, on both of them. And so, but I didn't get the epiphany or remember all this until I went up to Salt Creek Falls on my way home. I took the back roads up 97 and across and coming down to Southern Oregon. And it hit me when I was up the falls going, wait a minute, I know who she is. I ran across her when I was doing research on this because I've refused the shot, because I did my research. And I have enough friends that are scientists, so they said don't, and I trust them. And I'm glad I did. But as far as the attempt on her life, I believe it 100%. They've been trying to off her and this other doctor for some time because of the controversy over the things they are doing, because they don't want people being healed. They don't want us being healed, so there's a lot of, like I said, this is a crazy thing. I don't know if I don't care if anybody believes it or not, but I'm telling you, this is the way it is. I'm going to start reading from my notes. I have 2 pages of notes here. I got home that night, even though I was exhausted, I had to get this down. So I've got, today's the last day of the Sasquatch Summer Festival in Oregon, Oakridge, Oregon. The story actually began 2 days prior with Gwendolynn Guthrie, a young woman they found in a car that broke down and in distress. I will have all involved relay their part of the story to Tobe Johnson to put it in chronological order. I've been kind of prompted that the best thing I'm going to do right now is what we're doing right now, is I'm going to put it out there. I think this will protect her even better because, you know what, on my last podcast, I checked this morning, I've had over 80,000 views. That's a lot of people knowing something. And I told her also, when it comes to the research she's doing, when they are ready to publish, put it out everywhere. Everybody have them share it, have them share it, have them share it. They can only stop so much of it. So that's the only way to get it out there, is to put it out there and put it out there in a mass volume. So for her own protection. So I'm doing this for her protection. As I went to the festival with friends, having the time of my life, which I did, I had a great time. Enjoying their company. I encountered a lovely lady with a booth of natural remedies named Dr. Love. I was compelled to avoid her, as I just said, for the time being. Little did I know that I and my Sasquatch family of study have involvement in this story. As I said, I seem to be the pivotal person in this whole thing, which was pretty crazy. I've always said that they follow me everywhere I go when I'm in a forest setting. Heck, they come to my house and I live in the city. So most folks have find it hard to swallow. But here lies the proof. But that's not what it's about, but it's confirmation to this fact. I'm writing this while it's still fresh in my mind. So as soon as I got home that night, directly, I jumped right on in my notebook and started just writing everything out that I could remember. So the Roseman family was breaking down everything involved in the festival, while Ron Rosen and I had involved in a serious conversation about his experiences with the Sasquatch people, and hoped that I could give him answers that he needed. And I did the best I could from my experiences. Our conversation went close to 8 hours that day, which was amazing in itself. You could likely write a movie about the things we discussed, or a couple of them, actually. Time flew by quickly during our conversations. The festival had ended, and there's a lot of typos in this, so forgive me here and there. I got to translate my own writing because I did it fast and quick. And we were basically the last ones there. And matter of fact, when Priscilla came back, and she came back to drag Ron out of there, I stood up and said, and put my arms up and went, "Last man standing." Got them all laughing. Because I was the last one there. So it says basically we're the last ones there, and everybody had already exited the scene. We were approached by Dr. Love with a green stone in her open hand. She relayed that it had been gifted to her by a young juvenile Sasquatch earlier. She'd been sitting at the boat launch at the other end of the park with her feet in the water. There was a strange man that had been watching her and made her feel very uneasy with his presence. She gestured her feet in the water and could clearly see in the water between her feet. First of all, she said it wasn't there when she sat there. So it appeared after she had eyes on JJ across the river from her. Um, she's okay. She said she sighted a young juvenile. He and her watched each other for 15 minutes straight. She felt calm and no fear from him. Like I said, she has never had an experience with Sasquatch, and she really wasn't interested. So all this was kind of mind blowing, for her to come up with this story. So he and her watched each other for 15 minutes straight. When the juvenile had left, she found the small half-inch round green stone between her feet and felt it was a gift to her, which she didn't know nothing about gifting. So how would she even know that? He gave her all these feelings of, trying to relate to her, which they do to me the same thing. Let's see, where was I? Oh, and out of the blue, I asked her if the juvenile gave her his name. She immediately said JJ or something like that. Just like I said earlier, I about fell out of my chair when she said JJ. JJ is the name I'd given my alpha male's juvenile over 3 years earlier. Yes, she could have found this information through interviews that I've done as a witness of my Class A sightings, but I didn't personally feel this was the case. There were a lot of seemingly random events that took place before this conversation and meeting happened. I'll encourage all involved to write their story for their role in the event. I asked her to describe him. She stated it was just not him there. His whole family was there across the river. Just inside the tree line across the river, observing. I asked her to describe them, and she described them to me to the letter. All 4 of them. And I just last year found out that there was a 4th one that was a baby. It was a toddler. So I call it toddles because it's a toddler. I don't know if it's male or female. They haven't introduced it to me yet. So, and I can't wait for it to happen. So it was an elaborate. Okay, I asked her to describe them. She described me to the letter. If this is a hoax she is pulling, it's an elaborate and well executed one, was the thought in my mind. I confirmed her descriptions of them to be 100% accurate and relayed to her that they follow me and keep me safe. She relayed that they told her they were adopting her into their family as they did me, which that just kind of blew my mind. I was like, okay, well, welcome to the family. At this point, I was blown away by what she was saying. She was either heartfelt or an amazingly good actress. We continued speaking. Ron was sitting next to me, listening intently to the conversation. I mean, he was glued. Couldn't help it, But she'd been on the other foot. I'd been in the same way. Only been the time that he'd been silent the entire day. She felt that she'd been poisoned by the strange man she encountered by the river, by some unknown substance. She said she was led to her car by this man, and the rest was very foggy in her mind. She found herself on a road driving the wrong way to where she was intending to go. She had turned around and somehow found the highway while fighting the mental state she was in. She was pointed at the highway and felt that she had put her car in park. She seemed to feel that she was in and out of consciousness at this time. She awoke to her car being rocked violently, which I concluded was probably done by the Sasquatch. And I think they did it to wake her up, to get her coherent again. And I think they did to keep her safe. The next thing she remembered was that she was rolling out into traffic, only stopped when her vehicle hit the other side. And I think they pushed her out there purposely so she could be found, so she could get help. She seemed safe from being struck by cross traffic. And, there was a lot of traffic going by that road all the time. Highway 58 is a pretty busy highway. I felt that the rocking of her car may not have only have been to awaken her, but to delay her timing for her car to cross the traffic without harm to her. Just a small window of opportunity to do so around a busy highway cross traffic. She had been found soon after by researchers from the festival that were able to assist her. She called 911 on herself. When the ambulance came, she had thrown up violently. which probably expelled most of the poisons that were in her system. And when she got into the hospital confirmed that she was likely poisoned, and but they didn't know by what. So when it's a high agency or a dark agency, they have things that we have no clue what they are, and they're not known to science because it's not something they have out there, because they like to do things covertly. Dr. Love said there was smoke and the brakes had locked up on the car. Gwen was able to assist her in getting the vehicle fixed. That's Gwen Guthrie, of course, and running again. But meanwhile, Ron and I had to give up our chairs, so that was all we had left in the park. Priscilla returned to get Ron and move towards home. I stood up and stated, just as I said earlier, last man standing to her, as we all laughed, and Priscilla got in her car and left. It was just her and I left in the event area. She had a large glass of water bottle. It was like the cooler bottles, but like a half size, but made of glass. And I didn't want her to pack it. She was going to pack it all the way over to the other side where the boat launch was, which is probably about 500 yards. And I was like, why don't you just hop in the van and, I'll just drive you over to your car and stuff. So I was parked on the roadway while we talked. I had moved my van a few times to be out of the way of other cars because it is a rest area, as well as a day use area. And plus, it's a boat launch right there. When I saw a wider RV headed my way, I pulled in the boat ramp. She pointed across the river and said, JJ and Mama are there across the river from the launch, just as we were speaking. I didn't look because I know what they look like, first of all, and this was for her, not me. So sometimes you act as an intermediary with them. And I think that's exactly what they were using me for at the time. I told her to have no fear of them and that they were here to protect and teach her. She told me they told her the same thing. JJ had instructed her to gather some cedar and that he wanted her to touch it as well as gift it back to him, because she kept saying that they wanted her scent on something. And so the instructor, we want you to cut some cedars. And I told her how to do it, how to ask the tree. I'm native, so there are ways we do it in a sacred way. And I told her how to do it. So she followed my instructions on that. She texted me later to tell me how that she completed the task. It was getting late. I needed to go. I should have left hours earlier, but I felt I had to continue this conversation. Matter of fact, we'd still be talking if I... She was traumatized by the event about the car and very possible attempt on her life. She said JJ told her they would get her through it. I didn't know that would be through me, which was her trauma. Because in the middle of me telling her that was likely maybe one of my Sasquatches that shook her car to wake her up, to make her more coherent and kind of keep her awake. Because when you're poisoned or even like a concussion, you got to stay awake. That's number one to save your life. I was a caregiver for 14 years, so, and with the traumatic brain injured people in the last 6.5 years of my career. She called Gwen while we were talking, and Gwen asked her, about her trauma. And I hollered out as well, we got it taken care of. I think I figured out, and I said they kind of used me to kind of calm the trauma in her, and, kind of made it disappear. It was close to 7 p.m. We exchanged numbers, and I told her I would take her sometime to where my Sasquatch family resides, up in my research area in the future. It'd be interesting to see what happens. She said she was headed for Klamath Falls in a few weeks to gather medicine, and she'd contact me then. I got a couple messages from her on my way home, which I'll add below. She said when I was up at the falls on my way home from there, so the falls is probably 30-40 minutes north on Highway 58 from there at Oakridge where we were. She said, JJ come up beside me tonight. He made distinct noises that both myself and a friend heard. Because she had to go back there. She just couldn't leave there. She just was hooked. And she said, he was so near. He's protecting me so nobody does me any harm. He's so skilled and clever. His mother is very pleased with her son. I'm simply amazed this is happening. I didn't know they would come so close to me. So that was the first test she sent me, and she sent me a picture of the cedar that she had picked, that he instructed her to pick, as well as a leaf that he wanted her to wrap it in and just leave it out, and he would pick it up. So the next one is, I left JJ an offering at the river in the same spot he left me the stone, right after you left. He watched me from across the river as I collected the items and put my scent on each plant. He surprised me when he came and took the offering within minutes. After I walked up the embankment and reached my car, I heard loud noises as he briefly picked up my offering. Probably excitement. The first time, I think, his parents, I will just say, turned him loose with me in the woods. I heard the craziest sound I ever heard in my life that I can't describe. And for me, it was more like he was doing a woohoo, I get to go play with Bill. That's probably what he did to her, too. He was real excited, so he gave off some little crazy woohoo thing of his. She said, oh my, he was so eager to have it. They're protecting me, thank God. And now I can hear them so easily. So she's getting the direct mind speak. And it's really linked them together. That she is very, very linked to him. I let her know that, I had, that I made it home okay. And I got, that is so awesome. Prepare for an amazing journey. This is me. Have no fear and learn all you can. They are the ultimate teachers and will transform your life in a good and amazing ways. I made it home safe, and I hope you did as well. I will have to process all the things that took place today.
Check.
Well, I'm here. Don't worry. I had lost my spot because I had to expand my thing here.
Wait. Did you just hear me say check?
Yes, I did.
How is it? That's not possible. Like, I had my microphone muted.
Seriously. Well, I heard you say check.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude. That's nuts. Okay, whatever. Like, this is crazier things have happened, man.
Just keep your mind open, Jeremiah. Yeah. Keep your mind open, and don't try to explain what you see. Just go, okay, that was interesting. And don't freak out, because the craziest stuff's going to happen when you're there and when you're around them. It's really hard to describe some of the things, but it's totally mind-blowing. And just document it. Document it as soon as you can. Write it down, every detail you can, and just move on. Later on, a lot of those answers of what you have in your mind are going to come, because they're going to show you other things, and eventually it all comes together. So,
gotcha.
So I made it home safe, and I hope you did as well. I will have to process all the things that took place today. I am feeling at awe and inspired. Sleep well. Yeah, boy, and awe was quite a thing. It was absolutely mind-blowing. The next text I got from her was, hi, Bill, glad you made it home safely. It was a pleasure being led to you with clues. So JJ came within a few feet of me last night. I went down to the river again after dark at a different spot this time. He came crashing in from behind me. She said, I felt the reverberation of his footsteps, maybe two, which you do. They're a heavy creature. And JJ, when I said that, he was excited to see me, he come up the hill and all you could hear was thump, 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 just really making hard, heavy steps with purpose to let you know, hey, I'm on my way. And I know exactly what she's talking about. So he came crashing through from behind me. I felt the reverberation of his footsteps, maybe two, and the powerful snapping of branches or twigs. Then he made gentle sounds with his mouth. A friend was with me, so she has even another witness. She heard it too. She thought it might be a dog, but was not at all the sounds of a dog. It was JJ. The festival provided me with critical information. So that's what's good for people to get out to things like that. They get to learn things, So that just makes everything worth it. She says, listening to T-Bone, which is Tobe Johnson, recordings was also critical. She said, I told him about this. Please call and talk to him about this. Take care and talk to you soon. So I've talked to her a couple times, and she says JJ is continuing. She moved further up into the woods to be in a safer place. I told her how to protect her phone from keep from being tracked, which is basically you take 3 Mylar potato chip bags, put your phone in there. 3 layers of it seems to block the signal completely. Because even if you take your battery out, crush your phone, whatever you do to it, they can still track you by your phone. So people, be aware of that. So I texted her on at Tuesday after that, just checking in to know you're okay and safe. Remember, write down everything you remember, include texts and phone calls between us all. Send it all to T-Bone. He's going to put the full story together, and it may help keep you safe by doing this. She says, the coolant in my car was almost out again. This was the following Monday after that. And my electrical system is still not working or showing me the meter. I'll get the car looked at so I can take a trip to come visit you. I told her that car's a pain. Hope it's easy fixes for you. You know, because that car almost got her killed. She'd bought a secondhand car, and that's all she had. So then she texted me on Friday, August 2nd. I saw JJ tonight. He came to the house today and healed me. And they do have that quality that they can do that. Only if it doesn't involve your free will. They're not allowed to interfere with free will. And they understand that. And they've made me understand that as well. They have helped me out. I have neuropathy in my hands and feet, and my back was I had issues with it. And I woke up one morning, and I felt a big hand on my back, my lower back. Kind of freaked me out. I'm looking around going, what was that? Oh, I think they were helping me out. Happened another time, I felt hands on my feet. I'm looking at my feet. I threw the blankets back going, there ain't nothing there. And my feet were better. So, yeah, these things do happen. So she says, I saw JJ tonight. He came to the house today and healed me. Changed my frequency totally. And this is one thing I can say, is while we were in Oakridge, I felt my personal vibration kind of go up like tenfold. And that was before all this happened. And before everything even started, I was kind of freaked out over it a little bit. You know, I never told anybody. This is the first time I'm putting it out there. So I'm telling everybody now. But I felt my vibe just like go through the roof. So I think I was being prepared for all this that was going to happen. And for facilitating, like possibly being the facilitator of your sighting and Gwendolyn's sighting. And, you know, for what was going on with Dr. Love. So this evening I saw him move in my woods, beautiful red pelt. They can appear to you at any time stage of their life, forwards or backwards in time. From what I understand, I've had other people tell me this, that they've experienced that, and they can change colors. They can do different things because normally he's black. I mean, like black hole kind of black that sucks in the light. So I thought that's kind of interesting. I said, awesome. This is my text back. So glad they're helping you. You have good work to do, and they are making sure your path is clear. So she texted back, yes, they are clearing my path, and at the same time, burning up karmic ties for me at record speed. I feel so grateful, but I know it's because of the great work I am continuing to do. She says, I moved deeper into the national forest on a high prairie with an artesian well. It's heavenly here. We have old growth trees in our backyard. JJ showed himself to me briefly last night while I was sitting on the deck looking out into the forest. He was a few yards away and moving stealthily through the woods, because they can move through the woods faster than greased lightning, and just a glide. It's just so easy. It's such an easy glide that they do. It's just amazing to see. She's put at faster than normal speed. She's not used to all this stuff, so it's all, every bit of it's new to her. She said, I just caught a glimpse of him as he seemed to glide rapidly. This time he made no sound, which is common. A lot of people will hear them around them. And I encouraged her to record all this. And she called me. I said, well, you really need to document all this, and get it to Tobe or me or somebody. We need to get this all together somehow. But that's why I decided, I think to better protect her is to put it out in your podcast right now, because you have, from time we met to the following you have now. Wow, my friend, you have just exploded. The growth of Bigfoot Society has been amazing. I checked this morning, just out of curiosity, and just the one I did is at 80,000 views. So I thought that was incredible, and it just keeps ticking up. I was like, last time I checked, it was like 7,900. So now, it's another 1,000 and still ticking up. The cool part was, while we were at Oakridge, there was 2 people that had mentioned that Jeremiah, and Jeremiah came up to me and says, hey, Bill, somebody's got some questions about the bear. Would you mind talking to him? I said, well, heck yeah. He said, yeah, I told him he's here if you'd like to talk to him. Kind of blew their minds that I was there. So I got to talk to those 2 people that had come up there and had mentioned that about that podcast and everything. So I thought that was pretty cool. Gave me a couple new friends and a couple new fans.
It was really cool. That happened actually a few different ways. Just random people talking about certain episodes, and I could be like, hey, let me go check with the person because they're kind of here, but I didn't want to give you away, and if you didn't want to be given away,
oh no, I was fine.
You're up for it. So it was very cool. That story, man, because Dr. Love is not a Bigfoot person.
No,
but the way she's talking is she's talking like someone who's been in the community for years and years.
Exactly.
That's the wild part, man.
And the other wild thing is why I understood that she told me things about this Sasquatch family that I've been studying for 3 years now and had lots of contact with. Matter of fact, I've been over 2.5 hours in their presence, eyes on. And there aren't too many people that can say that. And but she told me things about them that nobody else knows.
Wow.
So I was like, whoa, wait a minute, ding, ding, ding. She'd say this, and I go, ding, ding, ding. I'm not going to put it out there because nobody knows. Yeah, I want to keep it that way. In case something like this happens again, I have those little things if they mention these things. And she just happened to mention these things. And I was just like, right on. Okay, she's 100% for real. This is all really happening. It's not somebody pulling a hoax on me. So she decided that instead of writing it, because she doesn't have time most of the time because she's so busy working on things, that she did an audio recording of everything that's been happening. And so far, just up to that point, it's over 2 hours long of her testimony of all the things that happened. I told her do it from the start, from when you arrived there, the river, the creepy guy, how you felt uncomfortable, all the way up to where you're at right now. And that's what she did. So I'm not sure if she sent it to Tobe yet or not. I haven't sent him anything yet. And I know Gwen's been really busy. But there's other people, they're, in a roundabout involvement in, like Ron Roseman, because he was sitting right there when she walked up to us. We were in the middle of that conversation, and it all stopped. Like I said, first time Ron had been quiet all day. He was just glued to listening to every word and listening to her and I back and forth. And for him to see me about fall out of my chair when she said JJ, I mean, that was the most mind-blowing thing that could have happened. That it's my Sasquatch family, and that she's described them to a T. Exactly. Every single one of them. And I'm like, wow, it's just been totally mind-blowing. I told you this was going to be crazy.
This is probably one of the most wild stories I've heard in the last few years. How soon did the Mind Speak start for her?
Right away. Instantly.
Same day?
It was the first sighting.
Oh, wow.
JJ was relaying things to her mentally.
Okay. Yep.
And then after she did the scent thing with the bag with the cedar that he asked her to make, because what's happening is they've assigned him to her because he's in a learning process. So as he's learning, he's teaching her. And everything went ding, ding, ding with me because I was wondering why. Because it's so rare that you get to see a juvenile with the adult. Sometimes you'll see a juvenile. It's pretty rare to see one. You know, that in my fifth sighting that started my whole craziness here of my trip down the rabbit hole, that he introduced me to his juvenile. I didn't understand that. Now I understand he was assigned to me. Like I'm his project. And I've been a heck of a project for him. He has changed me in profound ways. When I was in Canada last September, a year ago, almost a full year, I saw things there that I thought I would never see in my life. There's all that stuff. You go, oh, that's a bunch of pooey. You know, I'm trying to keep it clean here. I almost wore my shirt too. I see you're wearing yours. Yeah. I was actually wearing it yesterday. But yeah, I saw things up there. I saw a portal. I'm like, okay, I can't deny what I just saw. And I have a friend that took a picture of it. Inside the portal, you can see Sasquatch's faces. There's like 4 or 5 faces in it. And there's a triangle and square. There's all these little shapes that were in there. And the funny thing about the triangle part is on the last night there, Brian Bland was the host, Brian and his wife, Susan. Susan had an experience. She could hear one outside of her tent doing the rock back and forth, and because you hear their feet shifting. And when that was going on, at the same time, I was in my tent up on the hill. They were down the hill. There's a helicopter landing down there for emergency services and stuff. And they were camped right next to that. And I was up the hill by the shelter. And so there's probably 100, 120 yards between us. And I was getting some weird, crazy download. All of a sudden, my eyes are closed, and they lit up with my eyes closed. Just the brightest yellow. And I was seeing triangles. So, yeah, very strange things. And when this was all over with for her, she kind of called it a download of some sort from them. And my first thought after I woke up, I was like, well, that was interesting. I don't know what that was, but I just kind of kept it quiet at the time until Brian came back. And I said, well, I kind of had a little experience at the same time she was having hers. And so when that was over with, first thought in my mind, I was like, everybody's already gone. There's only a handful of us here. Now you guys decide you're going to hang out? And then I hear, because my Sasquatches do this, they clack sticks together to kind of say, thank you, or you got it. I heard tap, tap. I went, no, did I just hear that? Tap, stomp, 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 stomp. Let me know, yes, they were there. As he stomped off into the woods afterwards. So I've had a lot of crazy things happen, and in places that I've just amazed, absolutely amazed. So that's about it for her. We've talked back and forth on the phone a few times since then. I've missed her last call, unfortunately. So I work graveyard shifts, so people are always missing me. So you got a short window of time in the evening or in the morning to get a hold of me. And so I texted that back to her about the times that I'm available. So I was actually going to call her this weekend to kind of touch base with her and tell her this is what I'm going to do, that I'm going to put this out there for you. And I want to make sure. I figured, okay, well, this is a little more output and outgoing there because your reach has gone absolutely crazy since our first interview. And you hadn't even hit, oh, geez, I don't think you'd hit 10,000 yet. You're probably about 7 or 8,000 subscribers then. You're way up there now. Way up there.
It's it, yeah. I mean, sometimes I. That's the crazy thing, Bill, because sometimes I forget and how big it has gotten, and so I have to like remind myself, like there can be repercussions because it is so big now, and like there's a lot of people listening, which is amazing,
Hmm.
but it's also like, man, um, you gotta be aware of that, like the stuff you're putting out, like
It's
everyone around the world is it's crazy, man.
it just feels crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like me and people going, I know who you are, and I'm like, huh? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you don't. They're like, yeah, you do. I heard your story. Oh, okay. Or I read your story in the book, and I went,
Right.
oh, Tom's book. I forgot all about it. Yeah, I was up at Squatch Fest up in Tacoma, and I was with Ken Gerhard. And a couple of people had come up to me and says, I know who you are. I recognize your face from your picture in the book, and I forgot I was even in that. I was even in Tom's book at the time, and the look on Ken's face was really surprised. He's like, "Man, he's taking some of the glory away from me." I just laughed at it. He's like my little brother. So, but yeah, I'd forgotten all about that. I was even in a book. I don't even think about things like that. I'm not in this for any kind of glory or anything. I'm in this to kind of help people, and I think my biggest part in the whole thing is to kind of help facilitate people to have contact with them, to dispel that they're not the boogeyman. Yes, they look big and scary. We all grew up on monster movies, so and everybody going, well, this is just your imagination. What about when you're a little kid and you got your imaginary friend? Maybe it's not imaginary. Maybe you're in a different frequency that you can contact something on a different level or a different dimension. See, my mind is way expanded, Jeremiah, and I know yours has just gone bananas. And you're still. It's going to be a while. You're going to process this for the next couple of years. Let me tell you that. It's not an overnight thing, and I'm surprised that you actually did your own interview coming out so quickly. Because last time I talked to you, you said, well, it's probably going to be 10 or 20 years before I'm going to be able to talk about this, because it just blew your mind so much of the things that happened and that you got your sighting. And I noticed as soon as you got home, you hit the field. You got out
Yeah.
there. I was like, right on, Jeremiah. So now you're hooked.
So it's definitely a thing where um, things are progressing, and I'm not really sure about a lot of things yet. In the way that what I had said to you, I wouldn't probably talk about 10 years. Um, I have no problem putting that out now.
I'm
Um,
glad.
and
You know why?
we'll leave it at that for
You
now.
know why? They know who you are, Jeremiah. They know what you do through people like me and stuff, because they know everything. I can't hide anything from them. So they know my associations. They knew I was going to be in Oakridge. They knew they were going to follow me there. They knew there was people there that I cared about, like you, that I have an association with, that I'm very comfortable with and really want to be good friends with. And like Gwen, and you were the two that I approached out there, and you were the two that had sightings. They understand, they know who you are, and they like what you do. They like that you're getting the information out there from all these people, all walks of life, all types of careers and family, everything. They're people from every walk of life that you've had on your show. Some are terrified of them, which was kind of funny. When I was doing my fifth sighting, I was actually reading Sasquatch Face to Face, the book I'm in,
Hmm.
by Tom Cantrell. Yeah. I'm not sure if they thought it was funny or what, because everybody's terrified, and they knew I was traumatized. But I got over it because I was open minded, so I just buried all that down deep and tried not to think about it, tried not to talk about it the rest, for most of my life. And that was the only fear I had left in my life that I hadn't conquered. because I'm one of these people. I understand that you make up your own fear. Sometimes you'll adopt fear from like your parents or your brother or your sister or a friend. Oh, spiders! I'm afraid of spiders. Boom. It goes into your mind and you lock in on it. Now you're afraid of spiders. Those things happen. So it's about getting over those fears. Everybody, you can conquer your fear. You just have to face your fear. And that's the biggest thing, is face it and have no fear. And once you drop your fear, the things that they do with purpose. So if you've had an encounter with one, they're doing it on purpose. They're testing you. They know that you're a good person, that you've got a good heart, and they want to see what your reaction is going to be. And some people are just totally terrified, not ready for it. They like what you're doing. And I think I've been kind of put to the task of kind of just like I was for Oakridge, is kind of being the intermediary, for them, and letting people know that they are not the monster that you think they are. They are actually very gentle, loving creatures. They look scary as hell. Oh, yeah. Trust me, when I was face to face, I'm surprised I didn't soil myself. I really am. I'm glad I kept it together. That would have been a funny run home or into town that night. Um, but yeah, it was just if you're having those encounters and you want to have an encounter and you have seen them, one of the best things to do is, like Tom taught me, is armchair squatching. Go out in the woods, take a book, take a lunch with you. Go find a nice quiet spot where there's not a lot of people or no people. Oakridge, there was a lot of people there, and there's still things that were going on. Same with Beachfoot. We got, I think it was like 86 researchers there, and we're having activity. And that's happened for the past 2 years. The ones that were there last year were not mine. They weren't my family, my Sasquatch family. They were actually Casey Miller's, another researcher that just lives about 15 minutes away from me. But they were there for her. They had made a few things for her while we were there, and she found them, because when they place something for you, it's for you. When you find a glyph or a rock or a feather, when you had just been there and there was nothing there, that is placed there for you. When you find that footprint, that is placed there for you. And it's funny because you only find one. Well, Jason and the crew, while they were there, found 2 footprints. And want to know what the funny part is? Actually, there's 2 footprints and there was handprints on the car. Dr. Love says JJ put the handprints on the car, because they weren't going to show themselves to them because they're a film crew. They didn't want to be on camera and stuff. So they wanted to let them know, okay, here's something for you. And one of the footprints was stolen. Don't know if it was human, or it could have been one of the Sasquatches decided they didn't want the footprint. The funny part is the 2 different sizes of footprints. One was possibly my alpha male, because the dimensions and everything and the shape, and I saw pictures of him that matches his exactly. And the smaller one at 14 and a half inches matches the alpha female. Wow. So yeah, there's a lot of things that happened there and it was with my family of them, that went on. And I don't know if they were messing with them or what they were doing, but they did leave evidence there and to show that they were there. So it was, I told you this was going to be a crazy story. It's going to be hard to believe. It's just, there's intrigue, espionage, all kinds of things going on in this story. It's like, it was the craziest thing I've ever encountered in my life.
I mean, the last 5 or 6 interviews I've done, and these people are not connected in any way, just the stuff they've been telling me, and just all bets are off. And just, I know I've mentioned this a few times, but one of the weirdest things was going to the same area multiple times, but with different people each time, and seeing how the intention of the people involved in the group affects what happens.
That absolutely makes the difference.
Blew my mind.
What was what I told you? What your mindset needed to be. I told you needed to have your mindset clear, that you would like to see them, that you're not going to be afraid of them, you're not going to run screaming like a little girl or anything if it happens, you know. I told you need to have that mindset that it's okay, I'm ready. And that's what you did. You when you talked to me from the airport, you said, Bill, I followed everything you said to the letter. And guess what? And it happened. It happened for you. And that's the whole thing. And that's what I think I'm supposed to do is to let people know this. If you've had an experience, you can continue that experience. And this is how you do it. Because they are approaching, if you haven't noticed this, and a lot of other researchers are noticing this, is they're approaching more and more of us. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening, a lot of changes this earth, this realm we're in here. And they're trying to save a lot of us from it. And I think that's part of why they're approaching more and more people. So they're testing people more. They're having more coming out for more people. So if you've seen one, that puts you in a connection with them. So try the armchair squatching. Just go out, sit in the woods, read a book, just relax, clear your mind, keep the mindset, say, hey, I'm okay with it. I would like to see you. And see what happens. You know, I go out, you catch me in the woods, and you think, this guy's bananas. I'm out there talking to the trees, you know. I'm talking to the woods and talking to them at the same time. And I'm interacting with them because they'll do tree knocks and rock clacks and stick taps and to answer me, you know, when I'm out there. And sometimes they've taught me a lot of things. I just mentioned yesterday about, and I think you've heard me say this a few times, is they've been teaching me patience. And they've been doing this over the past couple of years because I think they had somebody in mind for me, lady-wise, because they knew I've just kind of given up. And that's been part of it. And for her, I have to be very patient. And because she's gone through a lot as well, and a lot of traumas, and they were grooming me for it. They have a funny way of doing things and making things happen that are just really intriguing and mind-blowing at the same time. But just go out and talk to them. You know, in the woods, say, hey, how you doing? It's a great day. You know, talk to the trees, whatever. You know, they're going to see you interacting with things. Another good thing is respect. And a real fast way for you to gain respect with them is pick up the trash. Wherever we've been, we leave trash. We're pigs. Human beings are pigs. You know, everywhere you go, there is trash everywhere. Go along, start picking up the garbage. They respect that, and that respects them. That gives them a lot of respect. And especially seeing you cleaning things up like that, because they are the masters of the forest. If you think that doesn't bother them with us throwing wrappers down and leaving garbage and plastic and crap behind, it absolutely does. It bothers me when I go in the woods. I quit hunting for the longest time because I got tired of following the beer cans. Beer, guns, they don't match too well. That's not a good combination. You know, I was getting more and more worried that I was going to be shot out there by some moron that's half drunk, you know, sporting his rifle, thinking I'm a deer. The whole thing is don't be afraid of them. Really, don't be afraid of them. If they are being aggressive towards you, they don't like you. Or you're doing something wrong that you've upset them. I've had them throw rocks and stuff, but they don't throw them at me. They throw them across my trail to let me know they're there. It's kind of like, hey, I'm here. It's like, oh, hey. Then I'll start talking to them, start chatting with them, and I get interaction back and forth, you know. And it's just to let me know they're there. If you hear them at all, they're just letting you know they're there. You hear that tree break, that crack, that snap, that tree knock. If it is a tree knock, you know, some of us thinking that they're doing this clap with their mouth open because they have such a big capacity that it can sound like a tree knock. You know, until we see it actually happen, you know, we're never going to know. The things they can do are just absolutely mind blowing. They are the masters, and I think they are master scientists, just like Henry said. I really do. And I think they do use us for a lot of things like that, that were their hands, because they do have thumbs, folks, but their thumbs don't run out here like ours do. They run in line. It's like having an extra finger. So it doesn't give them a lot of use. So when they grip things, they have to grip across this way. They can't do the thumb wrap around like that. Everything goes in line like this because it follows their fingers. And that's evident from handprints and everything else. I have a couple of them hang on my wall. And these are from one's from down in the South and one's from up here in the Blues, here in Oregon, which was one of Freeman's. And they got the same thing. Also, they don't have this joint here, this little fingertip, which we call the phalanges. It's like they're missing that last little joint. So that really takes a lot away for gripping things and grabbing things, small things, especially. So those are just things to keep in mind and be aware of. So if you're gifting them things, try not to gift them a bunch of junk food and garbage, please. I mean, we're having a hard enough time with the chemicals that we take in. Try to give them things that are natural. Give them apples, give them bananas. I guess bananas worked. Apparently bananas work. I was like, I'm not going to make them think that I'm dealing with a gorilla, so I've never gifted bananas, but now after the story, I just might take some bananas and see what happens. I know mine here, because I've heard stories from back east where they like garlic. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to gift mine some garlic. And I've got those little easy peel tangerines, so I gave them some of those. Well, I went back to my gifting area. They were mixed all through a bag of apples. And they picked out every one and set it on the ground in front of the tree and took the apples. I was like, okay, you don't like tangerines. You don't want garlic. Matter of fact, I planted garlic up at the spring. They pulled it up. They didn't want it planted there. They didn't want it there. So they took it. Gone. Because garlic will grow just about anywhere. As long as there's any kind of minerals in the soil and stuff, they can grow in some of the crappiest soil. All garlic cares about is the minerals, and it'll grow. No, they took it. They're like, no, we don't want it growing. I was like, oh, okay. That's cool. So, and it all depends on the type of year or time of year too. So try to bring them things that aren't actively growing at that time. Right now, apple trees are everywhere, and there's apple trees all through the woods. Matter of fact, there's one, two, at least three up in my research area, and they all have apples on them right now. My area, I've got apples. I've got wild strawberries. I've got choke cherries. I've got huckleberries. I've got blueberries. So there's all kinds of fruit for them to eat. There's Oregon grape. There is, I even found salmon berries up there, which that was a surprise to me. So there's lots of food, and there's lots of medicines out there too. And from my understanding, they're master herbologists as well. And that's where Dr. Love comes in and the help that they're giving her, because that's what she does. And I think they're helping her perfect her craft to heal a lot of people. And her and this other doctor have already healed a lot of people over these things, and they've been able to heal them from the jab and purge their body of all this. I'm still processing everything, even after a month or so. It's just I just don't know what to say about. All I can do is put what happened, what I wrote, be objective. This is what happened. You and Gwen, in a roundabout way. Then there's Ron Roseman, because he was sitting there when she came and approached me. Tobe Johnson knows about everything that was going on. I don't know how many other people are involved in it. Then there's Jason and the film crew. I mean, there's a lot of us. It's probably about a dozen people involved in the whole thing in a peripheral way. So that's what really makes it even more incredible. That it's just not me blowing smoke up anybody's backside. This is everything that happened, and each of us can corroborate parts of every bit of the story. So, and that's the crazy part. It's like, this is just insane. It really is. What a movie this would make.
It's so wild how, yes, it is all connected through different people. It's extremely interesting. I don't think the story is done by a long shot. I think
I don't
it'll
think so
continue
either.
going.
And I will let you know how things are going with her, and that she is safe and everything. So you and I can call each other whenever. Well, my schedule is kind of weird, but
Right.
we'll text each other. And if you got time for a call, we can do that. But yeah, I'll keep you up to date on how things are going with her and stuff, because she does want to come down here and go to the research area where they actually do live, and spend a lot of their time. Oh, did you see the tree break I posted the other day?
I didn't. I'm gonna have to look.
It was showing me that they're still coming there, and they reassure me from time to time. So this is one of those classic what everybody wants to find. Let me see if I can get it up here to you so you can really see the twists and turns.
Totally. Wow. That's crazy, man.
Let me get it on camera there. There you go. So this is, you think the wind did this, Jeremiah? Or a tree falling across it?
I don't think so.
I mean, check that out. I mean, it exploded all the fibers in there, and it's almost a twist and braid at the same time. Mm-hmm. This I got this last week, and it was fresh. So it was kind of a signal to me, and they leave me these casual little things. It could be a rock, it could be a feather, it could be different things to let me know everything's cool. Don't worry, we're still coming back and forth, and just a reassurance to me. And the crazy part is just before I went to whack this branch, a thought got projected into my mind: you're going to cut yourself.
No way.
It's almost healed, but right on the end of my thumb, I don't know if you can see that, but I whacked it with my little pole saw, because these things are laser sharp. Mm-hmm. And what I use. And I was like, wow, okay. After I cut myself, okay. So I'm looking for some usnea, which is called old man's beard. And that's that stringy looking beard looking stuff hanging off the branches of the tree, because it's anti-microbial, antifungal, all kinds of stuff. It's an amazing healer. And I wrapped my thumb in that. Then the next thought that came into my head is, we want your blood sample. I was like, whoa. Well, that's kind of weird. So when I finally pulled it off my thumb, it looked like a little tiny hummingbird nest. And so there's another tree break directly across from this, across the road. This is on the north side, and I'm on the south side. And the spot that I'm in is the part, I'm only like 75 feet from where I got the bear. So I'm in the gifting area, in what I call their dining area. And this other tree break has been there forever. It's out of Madrone, which down back east they call it Laurelwood. It's related to the bay family, bay leaf. And so right in the twist of this one, I put that little spot. It's still there. They haven't taken it yet. And I also left them a gift of jerky and some brownies. So they haven't made it back over yet, but I'm sure they will. So I will check on that next week to see if it's still there, or if they came to get it. So I'm really curious of why they wanted a blood sample. That's an interesting request. And you already knew I was going to be cut. So, I'm pretty careful with these saws, and I really try not to cut myself, because they can take your arm off. That's how sharp they are. So, I mean, I used to build, I do the willow furniture and things along that line. And you want the sharpest tools that you can find. And these saws are laser cut, and it's a pull saw, so it cuts on the pull, not on the push. So you get really precise, very, very clean cuts. So I can build these furniture without any lumps and bumps and all that stuff. It makes it real easy. And you have to have the right clippers and stuff. So, but yeah, it's what a ride. So you're just you're no longer circling the rabbit hole. You're in the rabbit hole now, my friend. We got to definitely keep in touch all the time. Yeah, I got to know these things going on with you too. So, because this is, I love it. I love every minute of it. And Gwen's back in. Gwen has not been out in the field in about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Guess what? As soon as she got home, boom. She said, I'm getting out in the field now. So between her schoolwork and everything else she's got going on, she's getting back out in the field again because this inspired her to get back out there, which I think, like I said, it was done with purpose. Everything they do is done with purpose. The only time you're going to see them is because it's with purpose. They want to contact or connect with you.
Bill, thank you so much for coming on.
Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's the list. If you've had any encounters in Oregon, which I'm sure there's probably a few of you out there, please feel free to reach out immediately. You can use email bigfootsociety@gmail.com. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. If you want to join in the fun, you can join over at patreon.com/The Bigfoot Society. I'll see you there. And again, thanks for listening.
Her and I can get on here and we can tell our stories. Maybe there's somebody else out there listening that's too afraid to tell their story. Maybe this will give them the courage to come out and not feel so bad about it. Who cares what anybody thinks? I know what I saw. I know what's out there. That's all I care about.
Let people know. Please let them know. If you ever see one of these things, you need to tell. Because if you don't, then shame on you. Shame on you.